And there's also a lot of, from what I've read, like nationalistic pride between Korea and Japan, which clashes. And I'm sure like President Moon and Shinzo Abe, like
you know a lot of stuff.
yeah, they like probably have quite disparate views on the world. So yeah,
A lot of people here in Korea and Japan are saying that issue is settled.
yeah.
What do you think about that?
There's other issues around that as well, because I know that during like that World War II period, the Japanese had Koreans come over to Japan to do pretty much forced labor, and they were never paid for that. But America and Japan had their truce, so on their truce after World War II, like Americans kept Koreans on to work in Japan for no money, and they haven't received any money for that, from what I've read. So I don't think the problems are completely solved at all. Like, I don't think also paying for reparations essentially is going to solve the problems. Like, there has to be more cultural shifts as well.
Boycott Japanese products in general. What do you think about that? Like,
I don't know if like it makes sense on like a humanistic level, because I mean, it's one of the only things that like the people of Korea who feel affected by these issues still can do to sort of make amends in their own minds. So it makes sense on that level, but on country to country level, I don't think it's going to solve many problems by not drinking Asahi or by not eating Japanese like sushi or whatever it is. I don't think that's going to solve the deeper structural problems there.
what would be like a solution for that?
Probably like people to people interaction. So it has to start obviously with the governments of both countries, and it has to start with them top down. So like cultural exchange programs, and also like discussions around the history of the problems and how you're going to move forward, because like very, very close neighbors, and then you've got North Korea who's
True.
threatening everybody.
I know.
And
When you got North Korea up there in China?
well, exactly right. And both of them are massive problems, even for Australia as well. More the China issue is gonna, like, that dominates our political landscape in Australia, the China issue. Because historically Australia has always had America as their security alliance. Then over the last 2 or 3 decades, China has like become our major economic partner. So I think they account for something like a quarter of all our trade. So we're sort of stuck in, like with the trade war going on, we're sort of stuck in a limbo between choosing between America's as our security benefactor, China, who is our economic one. Our Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, sort of, he put too many eggs in the American basket, to put it one way, and China sort of pushed back a bit. They released a statement saying, like, because Scott Morrison had said that China shouldn't be considered a developing nation anymore, and they should have to play by the same rules essentially as developed nations. And China pushed back on that, and like there's like economic relationships are there, but the diplomatic ones are not so much.
I can understand why it's happening, and I don't want to say it's not justified, but in a sense, I also think that the past needs to be a past in a way. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't value how important the past is. But
I think that especially considering the whole political climate in Asia right now, with China provoking a lot of in Asia, I feel like it's important for countries with similar political beliefs to stick together and to overcome these differences. I understand why Korea is angry. I understand that. I think it's important to not turn on each other and to focus on, you know, sticking together and trying to find a political solution that works for both sides. I feel like because Korea and Japan, they're culturally similar.
Very similar.
I feel like they should focus on what unites them and not on like issues that pushes them apart. I'm from Austria, and if you know the history of Austria, we haven't got the best history either. So I think it's important to remind ourselves of the bad parts in our history too. And I think we shouldn't just say, okay, it's done now. We should just keep in mind that bad things happened, and that we should focus on that's not happening again. instead of just ignoring the past. So I think I totally understand Korea's side in this matter, and always have to keep in mind that something bad happened, and that it's part of Japan's history, and Japan can't erase that even if they want to.
For sure.